We're back on the Sports Zone. I am Mike Aglialoro. Once again, thanks to everyone who subscribed to the YouTube channel, Mike Ags 121. If you haven't done so, please do so under the video. And don't forget to check out the website, thisissportszone.com, for more. So we're back with the second part of the revamped Sit-'em Stardom. We did the Stardom Up segment, and now we are doing the Sit-'em Down segment. We are doing 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 1 tight end, who if you are on FanDuel.com and you're playing these games and you're putting the money down to try to win the tournaments or the head-to-head games, you do not want to spend precious cap space on any of these guys this week. At quarterback, I don't want Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers or Robert Griffin III of the Washington Redskins. Now, obviously, if you are in full year leagues, you are playing these guys if you have them. And I am in a keeper league where I have Robert Griffin III, and I sure as hell am starting him this week. So I am not saying that. I am just saying if you look at their prices on FanDuel.com, you got over $9,000 for Cam Newton, you got $8,400 for Robert Griffin III. You can spend that money in different areas and take cheaper quarterback options than these two guys are going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense with Lovie Smith, who has completely changed that unit around. And against the Houston Texans, their offense is going to be terrible, but they still have J.J. Watt and the rookie Jadeveon Clowney on defense. So I don't really know what you can expect out of either of these guys. In Newton's case, you have really no wide receivers to work with. And in Robert Griffin III's case, let's see how healthy he is, because we all know he hasn't exactly had a banner preseason thus far. At running back, and we're going with the big names here, I don't want to spend the money on Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings or Eddie Lacy of the Green Bay Packers. With Lacy, it's simple. You're going against the Seattle Seahawks, and it's just not worth it to spend $9,000 on Eddie Lacy when you can get guys like Frank Gore and Marshawn Lynch, who I talked about, at cheaper prices. So I would pass on him. And in Adrian Peterson's case, the St. Louis Rams defense is for real, in my opinion. You add another big name in Aaron Donald to a front line that includes Michael Brockers, Robert Quinn, Chris Long. You got James Laurinaitis at the linebacker position. I do not want to be Adrian Peterson this week. At $9,300 on FanDuel, you could take a cheaper option. AP is still AP, just not this week. At wide receiver, like with Lacy, I don't want Jordy Nelson or Randall Cobb going against the Seattle Seahawks this week. And surprise, surprise, I would stay away from Calvin Johnson this week, going against a revamped Giants secondary that is going to have to be the best part of that team. You don't know what to expect out of the front seven from the Giants. You don't really know what to expect out of their offense as they're still switching to the West Coast offense. And at least for the first game, you really wonder what the pace and the tone is going to be under first-year coordinator Bob McAdoo. But I really worry about that secondary with Prince Amukamara growing into the top cornerback that the Giants thought they were getting when they drafted him a couple years ago. You had Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie and Walter Thurman, formerly of the Seahawks, and you still have Antrell Roll at the safety position. This may not be a banner week for Megatron, so I would stay away from him, especially since he is always the highest priced wide receiver on FanDuel.com. And like we talked about with the Stardom segment, you got Michael Crabtree, you got T.Y. Hilton, you got Michael Floyd, you got Cody Latimer, you got Andre Caldwell with Wes Welker out. So you have a lot of cheaper options that it's just not worth it to spend over $9,000 on Calvin Johnson. At tight end, I also don't think it's worth it to spend $8,000 on Rob Gronkowski this week when you still don't know how healthy and recovered he is off of his injuries that have hampered him for the last 2 years. Miami Dolphins defense isn't really something to shout about. I'm not really worried about it from that perspective. But at $8,000, you can get Vernon Davis, you can get Martellus Bennett, you can get Greg Olsen, you could get Jordan Reed. Even though I don't really like the quarterbacks, I still think the 2 tight ends might wind up producing. And you could save a lot of money that you would have to put in a guy who might not wind up playing the whole game depending on how healthy he really is. So once again, the guys I would sit down this week: at quarterback, Cam Newton, Robert Griffin III. At running back, Eddie Lacy and Adrian Peterson. Wide receiver, Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, and Megatron Calvin Johnson. And at tight end, I would simply stay away from Rob Gronkowski. Once again, thanks to everyone who subscribes to the YouTube channel Mike Ags 121. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at We Are SportsZone. Make sure you check out This Is SportsZone for the full articles for Start 'em Up and Sit 'em Down. Thanks everyone for watching. Send us any questions and comments you may have. For This Is SportsZone, I am Mike Aglialoro. We will see you next time, folks.